I'm good as well. Thank you so much, Turkeshwari and Madhuri. Okay, great. Tick. I think everyone is all set. And I see almost everyone is here. Okay. So is everyone ready for the class? Yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, amazing. Take care. I can see everyone. I can see everyone. Some of your cameras are still loading. Hello, Kushagra. Okay, clear. All set. Except for Saloni, I can see everyone else. Saloni, once your camera gets better or your network gets better, please switch on your camera. Okay? ठीक है. Let's get started. So we will be dividing the portions today, guys. Okay. So firstly, we have a changemaker Ananya with us today. She'll be taking the first part, and post that we'll be having another changemakers as well. So now I'm gonna hand it over to Ananya. Over to you, Ananya.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Ananya, and I'm also part of TFG, and which is why I'll be here today taking you through a very topic that's like kind of close-hearted. And let's go through it, and I hope we'll have a fun time today. Everyone will be interacting. I can see your energy already. So yeah, let's get through it. So I hope the screen is visible, and let's start. So let's begin with something that might hit a bit close to home. Like, think about the last time you said yes to something. Maybe like going out with someone that you're not interested, or like going out even though you wanted to stay in at home, or at sometimes you wanted to lend something to someone. For an example, you know that your classmate won't give the pencil back, but still she's asking for it, and you don't want to look like a bad person. So you just say yes, you give it, and just lose it. Or even in the scenario where you just laugh at a joke that made you uncomfortable. These are the times where we just said yes blindly, even though we really wanted to scream no to them. And if you see the screen, 70% of the time, girls admit that they agree to something they didn't want to do. And if you see 70% is not a small number, it's like a majority of us. It's like you and I, and that's like a big deal. But then, have you ever thought, like, why does this happen? Is it like politeness or the pressure, or is it complete fear of being judged? Is it like easier to say yes than to deal with the potential argument or the awkward silence? What do you think about it? Do you think that's the easier way to get rid of a problem? Yes. Tapsi, Sajal, Mansi?
Hello,
Yes, please
thank you.
answer.
Yes, please. So as you shared that, the first thing I feel is the fear of judgment. If I, let's say, if there's a scenario, my friend is asking for a pencil, and if I don't give her, so, maybe next time I won't get back, or maybe she may think that, I am not her friend anymore. And I feel the other factor is conditioning. We have been conditioned to say yes. If we say no, we are not the good person. This is what I feel.
That sounds absolutely right. And like, I can really relate with it. It happened to me as well. Lakshmi?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yes, I feel sometimes the girls are not aware of that what the result will be and the things they are doing. So lack of awareness and the lack of clarity in their surrounding and supporting system is matter a lot. Due to that, they made sometimes the wrong decision or the decision which they don't want to do. They forcefully done because of awareness, lack of awareness, or lack of support.
That's totally right. Like, most of the time, we don't know what can be the outcome. So we just be like, okay, I'll just say yes because you're scared. What if something harmful happens? Or like, what if something we don't want to happen? That's a really good answer. Durkeshwari and Madhuri?
Yes. So I feel a lot of time what happens is like specifically talking about parents, we know what they are going to say when we say no to something. Like if I don't want to do this. That is somewhere makes us feel that no, we shouldn't say no to them. Like there is this pressure, you can say, on girls basically, that if I say no to them, then like not honestly about judgment also, but it's like a pressure that makes you feel that if you say no, then you are not a good person. You have become a not good person in their eyes. So I feel that pressure makes you, or the consequences after saying no also makes you feel like no, I should say yes to this rather than facing those consequences and leading to those arguments. So I think that is one of the reasons that we are forcefully saying yes.
You are extremely right because I think parents is like one of the pressure points that we cannot avoid. We can't say anything against it, but at the same time, most of the time, they might like miss the opportunity to understand our point of view. And we can say that's because the way they were also brought up, like they had to go through the same pressure when they were young, like us. So they think that's the right thing, but when in reality, that's not. Is there anyone? Yeah, Tapsi Sajal Mansi again. Thank you for your answer, the reassuring Madhuri.
Yes. So in like what I thought, uh, the girls don't like they don't teach girls how to say no, because if I say something to no, the people were thinking that I am a rude person. I am a like I have at like attitude, some attitude, bad attitude. Yes. And in my friend circle also, they always say yes for the bad thing, like for out bunking or doing something bad habits. If I say no, so they were thinking that she don't have they were thinking that sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Take your time. You feel that they might think you're weak or like you don't have that guts to bunk or do what they're saying, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's also like I can totally relate with you. Even I had friends who would just say, let's just miss the class. And I used to be scared. What if I miss the class and my parents get to know? So when I say I don't want to do that, they think like, oh, you're weak or you're scared. But then that's just my point of view. I just don't want to do it. You don't have to pressure me. So that's a really good point, and that's like very much relatable. So I think we do come under the 70% of the girls. And then many of us were like taught directly or indirectly that keeping peace is much more important than standing on our ground. So when we say peace, it's mainly about others' peace, not like our own peace. We compensate over them. So, but the cost, we ignore again our own boundaries, like you said, friends, peer pressures. We silence ourselves instead of saying no. We completely say yes and go with it, and we prioritize our own comfort and our own like what do you say feelings or emotions. I have some replies in the chat. Just a second. Many times we just think that people exactly we just going like what they will think. We are scared of what others will think about ourselves, but we're not thinking what how we will feel later on. Will we regret it? Will we feel uncomfortable? We don't think about it. So this situation isn't just big, but it's big and serious. It's like everyday moments. Again, like group chats, classrooms, relationships, even with family, parents' pressure. So today we're gonna explore this. We're gonna see why people struggle to say no, why people pleasing feels like a survival, and more importantly, how we can unlearn it without a guilt or fear. So this is where the PPT is about the silent trap, how girls are forced to say yes most of the time when they're internally screaming no. And this is not about just being shy or soft spoken. It's like how girls, especially from a young age, are conditioned like to forced to believe that saying yes to what others say is the right thing to do, and that they kind of make them believe that their thoughts or their arguments are kind of not agreeable and can cause problems. It's kind of seen as easygoing and not making a problem. We are told to be kind and not to ask someone or question someone, not to confront them. We are asked to compromise, like to give away and not to challenge it. And over time, this message kind of like eats up our head. It kind of makes us scared, afraid of judgmental, or like make us think, oh, what if I am not the best person? What if I am weak? And then it shows up like in different aspects of life. You will start being scared to answer in classes. You might know the answer, but then you'll be scared. What if they laugh at my jokes? Or like what if they will laugh at my answer? And sometimes when someone like crosses your boundaries. For example, for me, I don't like hugging. But when someone hugs me, I just let them do it because I'm scared. Oh, what if they think I'm rude? What if they think I don't like hugs? I'm a bad person. But then I'll just let them. But then I feel extremely uncomfortable. That's why we have to say no to the things that we don't want. Let it be whatever. Whatever they want, let them think it. But at the end of the day, we are protecting our own peace. See, it's not always verbal. It's not something said. It can be acts as well. Like the way they act. Like, for example, the physical affection I said. And sometimes our parents, tend to think that girls saying yes to everything is being obedient. They're listening to us. And when girls become like assertive as in like when they feel strong about themselves, we call them, oh, she's bossy, she got attitude. But that's wrong. Why it happens? Because the way they show in medias, like in TVs and movies, we see the girls tend to be shy, polite, they used to walk like this, and men just completely walk and boss around. So these are the wrong portrays, like images that we put on certain gender. And we just say, oh, don't be difficult, or just let that go. But how can we let it go? We are feeling sad inside, right? When your parents say, just say yes, you feel sad. You're not being heard or seen. When your friends force you, you're feeling that uncomfortable and you're not being able to let it go. So this trap, it isn't loud. It's very quiet. It's very subtle. Because why? We don't realize it. And why the fact we're not realizing is what it's very dangerous. And because often we let it just happen, in end of the time we'll be exhausted, we'll be tired, we'll be having too much emotions, and we'll kind of being very extreme sad. So the question is, why do girls say yes? It's the answer is who taught them to saying yes and who taught them that saying no is a problem. We need to look into these kind of questions. And how do we start undoing it? We start by seeing into it. So next we have a small definition again. What exactly the silent trap is? It's like the pressure. It can be internal or external. Can someone like just tell me their experience with an internal or external pressure? It can be within yourself or your parents, your friends, family, anyone. This question can be to a girl as well as a boy, any situation where you just had to yes and not say no. Can anyone answer?
Hello, may I share, please?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, after I cleared my 10th standard, I was being pressurized to pursue the study. I was being pressurized to become an IS officer. So they were like, you should become. And after a certain point, I started thinking that, oh, this will be very suitable for me. I'll do it very well, etc., etc. But then as time passed, as much as I got aware about myself, I understood that this is not something which I can do. And when I started, neglecting whatever they were saying, that, okay, I started making them understand that, oh, I don't want to do this. Maybe I will be interested in some other field. I saw a change in the way people were, not people, but my own family was treating me. But now the things have reached at a certain point that when I feel this is about sensitization, it took time in my family, but now we have reached at a situation that if we say no, then it does means that oh, there might be a reason she's saying no. And after some time, we explain that okay, this is the reason why we said no. So I think I was grateful enough that I have reached this stage. Thank you.
That's a great progress, I could say. Because even I can relate with that. My dad used to be obsessed with the idea of IFS officer. And he used to be like, oh, you should get into IFS officer. The diplomatic passport is really good. You should do that. You should do this. I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that. So again, like when I said that, he asked me, what's the reason you don't want to do it? And when I gave the reason, he understood. So that's kind of like, that's a really good progress. And we can like say that many people are there like who is unfortunate to get that kind of results. And let's delve into that, like what is like causing them. Now you said like when your parents, when they heard the reason, they agreed, but there are many people who are not agreeing despite the reason. And that's the main reason why the kids tend to, or like people like us tend to say yes even though they say like they mean no. And the main point I feel like you said, it's the thing we put in their mind from the young age. Will be like, this is right for you, this is wrong for you. We are not letting the people to choose like between themselves itself, what is right, what is wrong. So they're not agreeing, like they're not disagreeing because they want, like they don't want to. They're disagreeing because they know that's not the right thing for them. They agree, but then again they agree to their parents because they're scared. What if they judge me? You said there were a time where they like your parents kind of stopped like treating you in a proper like normal way, started different. So they're scared of being neglected or like rejected or like getting called like rude, bossy, dramatic, too much. So then over time, like we start to learn things like, okay, what my parents say, what my friends say is the right thing, and I should just let my own feelings go away. So instead of like confronting their thoughts, like to challenge their thoughts, we just agree and go over silence. And we just, instead of conflicting, like fighting again and again, fighting their thoughts or like what they said, we just agree with them and we just do that. But at the end of the day, is that aligning perfectly with our plans? No, it's not matching. So the truth is that we often forget to say it loud. Like we often forget to say that this is not what I want. And that's the main reason it's called as a silent trap, because it's completely silent. We don't do anything about this. This kind of silence isn't really harmless. It's like very much heavy and harmful. It affects our confidence, boundaries, self-worth, and often like it keeps in our mind and then it develops into society as well. So it shows like how girls should behave and not like how girls have to behave. Have to behave can be like however they want, not how they should. So by naming it, we call this whole thing the silent trap. And we begin to loosen its hold. How? By encouraging and starting something radical and honest expression. We just start questioning it and unroot it. So let's show everyone that saying no is not rude, it's powerful. And where it completely starts, let's look into that. Now we have spoken about the stances that where people had to go through like issues or like the pressures. So we can see that most of the time in the most of the response I got, it doesn't start from high school or society. It often starts at home itself, from our parents itself. So from a young age, many girls and boys are like taught to be quiet, obedient, even if they feel otherwise. But if you look in this demograph or like in this gender, it's mainly girls. The pressure is on them. So they are told not to talk back. If I say something to someone which I don't agree with, they'll be like, "You're talking back to me. I'm the eldest one. Listen to me." But who's in the wrong? They are the wrong. We all are humans. Even if we are young or old, we can make mistake. So if someone corrects us, just accept it. But then, like when we question them or when we disrespect them, again, we are called disrespectful. You don't respect me. That's the first thing I hear when I say, Papa, that's not the right thing. He just don't agree. He just like, oh, you're not listening to me. And what they expect me to do is just smile, adjust, and keep that peace, even when it hurts me. But thankfully, I think even though I have that kind of conflict with my parents, it's very much minimal compared to what's happening outside. So meanwhile, brothers get to like be loud, be messy, they can be expressive, and they're encouraged to like push their space, limits, even break rules. But girls, they're expected to serve, shrink, and stay small, polite, and kind. Isn't that like complete a stereotype? Like they're doing it wrong. We are doing someone's expression, personality based on their gender. And it's not always like intentional, they're not doing this purposefully or like they're not trying to be cruel. It's like deeply rooted in our culture from like old generation itself, they do this thing. So if you look back, our parents also went through this, our mom also went through it, our dad also went through it. The only thing we can do is now we can stop changing it, so that in our future, like our kids, our grandkids will have a different life. So that how the impact, we have to make it and it can be very real. So over time, if this is not done, girls tend to be silent. They think that saying no can be having harmful decisions. Thank you. They might feel like, oh, I'll be in trouble. And then like when someone crosses their personal boundary, they tend to be silent again. They are scared to say no. They'll be like, what if they think I am the weird person? So again and again, they choose the safer option. They tend to be silent, even if it means that they're betraying themselves. They're like completely cheating their own self. So the first set of the silent trap is to completely understand it. And if you have noticed, this doesn't completely happen randomly. It happens like normal situation, maybe while having dinner, or we are having a fight with our family members, or sometimes even we are having a normal, what do you say, exchange. Like I might be sitting on the couch, and my mom just come and say, "Sit like a girl." How I can just sit comfortably. Like that depends on me. Sit like a girl. What do you mean by a girl? How do a girl sit? Won't they sit however they want? So yeah, recognizing this blame, it is the first thing we have to do. And it's about awareness. Because we can't randomly like break the pattern, but we can't pretend like it doesn't exist. What can we do? Slowly we can understand it. First understand ourselves, tell our parents, our closest ones, and then we spread it. So why do let's just also delve into the fact like why do girls say silent? Again and again we spoke about this earlier. It's mainly about their fear and they're scared of being judged by the people around us. They're scared of being neglected, ignored by our own parents. And not because they're unsure or they are like kind of being again and again compensated. It's because that's how they were taught. So, like parents, our parents itself, they say this from the young age. They make like tell us like girls learn that being honest can make them look difficult. For example, if I'm being honestly saying that, oh, this uncle is rude in front of the whole family member, they'll be like, you're the young person. You don't know what's wrong, what's right. You are being rude. So that's the kind of thing. But in fact, the uncle is the person who is the one in the mistake. So when we are being honest, they say that you're the wrong one. You're the disrespectful one. And that's worse than our own discomfort. That's kind of causing a discomfort among everyone. So they fear hurting others than protecting themselves. They taught to be nice and not to upset the mood to keep everyone happy. And when they try to draw the boundaries, most of the time they try to guilt trap them, like say, "Oh, you're making me sad by doing that. You're making us sad by doing that." For example, if I say my dad that I don't want to pursue that career, then he might say, I mean, if well, thankfully he didn't say that, but he might say that in this scenario, "Oh, you're making me sad by saying that you don't want to be an IFS officer. That is my dream, and I was thinking that my daughter will achieve it, but you're not doing it. You're making my dream go to the waste." That's kind of the guilt they're putting in their head. So we start blaming ourselves. We start getting scared. So we just say, okay, yes, I'll be the IFS officer. Don't worry, I'll work for it. So instead of like saying no, we just say yes to everything. And our silence, it becomes a survival tool to survive everything, to make them like us, to keep ourselves safe, and to keep ourselves included in everything. Because if I say yes to everything, they will be happy and they'll include me in everything. But again, this deeply cost our comfort, our voice, and our truth. Just a second. I feel manipulation also. Exactly, manipulation. They start to coming up with this like kind of the topics. They're saying that, oh, so you're kind of betraying our plans, our dreams, our like. I get it. You also have dreams. If you had the dream, I mean, I know this may sound disrespectful, but you should have achieved it. Not force it on someone. If they're not interested in that, just let them be because they are going to live that life. You're not going to live for them. So let's see what is comfortable for them, what makes them happy, rather than forcing ourselves on them, like rather than projecting our dreams. And this is why understanding it first is the first step towards challenging it. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever said yes just to stay safe? This can be answered by anyone, and there is no pressure on like girls or boys. Anyone can answer this. Yes, would you like to answer?
So does anyone want to justify their answer? Because I can see some people are saying yes, But do they want to explain on it? Nishita, do you want to explain over it? Where exactly you had to say? You can unmute and say, Nishita. Oh, okay, okay. No problem. You can type it out as well. No problem. Anyone else? Mansi Tapsi Sejal is raising hand. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, please. So, like in my family, uh, my parents were saying that you have to do certain jobs because we don't have money for your studies. So, like Purni Foundation, they give me money for education, and but they are still saying that you have to do a job for your clothes, your food, and living in my house. And if so, I have to say yes because I have to live with them and also live in house, like a shelter for me. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. I think even if I was in that position as you, I would really feel that in my heart. Because even though I have to, like, even though I feel like I want to say no, because I'm also trying to like grow up. No, this one, I feel like that we are forced to say yes at some point, and we can only hope that like over time it will get better and we'll be successful. And that's like a really great like response. I really feel you. And I think these are the moments we kind of think to ourselves, what if I say no here? Will they see me as a bad person? Am I doing it right? These kind of questions kind of develop in our head, kind of make us sad and like kind of be less confident. So, do you feel less confident or like low self esteem when you say like that?
May I say something?
Uh, Not like
One second.
not like my confident. After like when I suffer from this situation, I never feel uh, like less confident or self-esteem, anything else. But when family were doing this uh, from like this family were doing this like doing with me, so I feel like depressed, like not depressed but sad, um, useless, something like that.
I feel like, yes, I understand. So you're saying that when your family does that, you feel sad, upset, and like kind of lonely. I feel like if you look into the positive aspect, where you said you don't feel less confident or self-esteem, that can be your greatest tool. It's very happy, like it's very, what do you say, great to know that you don't feel less confident, because that is your power tool. So what do you mean by like in 10 years you can look back and you can see, I fought for it. I was very much confident and I made this life for myself. So I think that when you feel sad next time, you just think, I'm fighting this for myself, for my future. So one day, if I'm fighting hard as an honest person, I will definitely have the win ahead of me. I will win. Because for me also, like last year was very hard time for me. I was also kind of like depressed and sad. So when I think like that, I'll be like, next year I'll be at the good position. I'll be having more opportunities. And here I am helping others. And I'm also like, I got into college also. I'm in a very good situation right now. So hopefully, I'm sure that if you hard work without any guilt or listening to the negative or responses, you can definitely achieve a lot. So all
Yes.
the very best from my side for that.
Yes. So,
Thank you.
why I am feeling confident and like never it's this situation never affects my self-esteem or confidence because like I have a dream to become a software engineer, and I also wants to like the first child of my family to educate like girl to educate more than others. So, and I just think that I have a dream, I have to follow that. Yeah, that's it.
That's a great start. If you have a dream in your heart, that means you will definitely achieve it. If you see most of the time who are people who have just a dream in their head, they most of the time they're success in their life. The people who don't success is like they don't have a dream in their head. They don't think about their future. They're just like, oh, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm depressed. They don't do anything to overcome it. That kind of the people are the one who tend to like get out of the track. But if you have a dream in your heart and if you have that willpower, I'm sure that you will achieve your dream. Next, I saw Angel, someone else.
Thank you.
Yes, please. I just
Yes.
wanted to say, I believe means every time I say yes to things I don't agree with or I wanted to say no, it just make me feel uh, underconfident, but also it's make me feel hate myself because I don't agree with it and I don't want to do it, but I'm just saying yes. So, like for with a group of friends I'm hanging out with and I don't want to do something, but I say yes, so they wouldn't abandon me because lots of time happens that if I feel like if I say no, they would not be friends with me. So yeah, it makes me feel hate myself and underconfident for sure.
I can really relate with you that, and I can like completely, what do you say that I've lost many friends just because I said no. But then the positive part is that I've gained many other friends who kind of understand my side. So if someone, suppose you said no to someone and they take it in a wrong way, that means they are not the right person. A right person, a real friend will understand you. So if you have lost any friends like that, don't worry about it because I'm sure that you will get many good friends who will understand you and help you. Because they were like in 10th grade itself, for me, I had many friends and they used to be like, let's bunk the class, let's go outside. And I used to be scared. I used to say, no, I don't want to do that because I know that's a wrong thing. So they just went like, oh, you're weak. We are not going to be friends with you today onwards. But then, like afterwards, I got like many other friends. When I say no, I don't want to do that, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you are right. That's a bad thing to do. Let's not do that." So, if you have lost any friends like that, or if you're scared of it, just make sure they're not the right person you should be around. You will get new friends anytime soon. And as long as you don't play with your own moral compass, you feel like I have done the right thing. You don't have to be underconfident. If you know that is the right thing, you can be confident about anything. And
Yes,
thank you so much.
yes.
And Chad Nishita. Uh,
Okay, great. So Ananya, let's wind up in the next 5 minutes,
yeah,
since we
sure.
have another portion as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Nishita, I'll get back to you soon. Just a second. So, most of the time when we are like raised to say yes and not no, if you see the boys, they tend to like express themselves aggressively, and they like because why? When they cry at a young age, we say boys don't cry. We don't let them cry. We say no and we close it there. So, because of letting them do it, they tend to be aggressive. Girls tended to be silent and like please others out of fear. Kids, they start adapting these emotional patterns, and young teens, they start to lose their self-esteem and their peace. And what is the silent damage that slowly takes place is that when we look, they kind of start like girls start to tell themselves it's better to stay silent. They won't question their belief. They'll kind of stop thinking about themselves. They start to doubt about their own feelings and wondering if they are being too much or too less, too harsh or like too sensitive. And we as girls we start like apologizing, saying sorry for saying no for something we don't want. We think we are the wrong ones and we're like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, but then they are the wrong ones. We kind of killed ourselves for saying no. So these are the internal conflicts that kind of lead into emotional exhaustion. Like emotionally we'll start to be tired. and then like always managing other people's comfort rather than like managing our own comfort. And when and slowly our own needs, our own emotion, they become the second thing we care about, maybe even the last thing we care about, because first we put the other people. And we should start stopping that thing. We should like call it an end, and like stop caring about what others will think. We might look calm outside, but again we are going crazy inside. We're like, I don't want to say yes, but I said yes. Why did I say yes? I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to do it. These kind of thoughts kind of again hurt your confidence, hurt your self-esteem, your happiness, your peace, and again we start to become weak. And that's where we exactly becomes weak, when we kind of betray our own self. And the scariest part is that we might not notice it, but because others see it as a nice thing, or like, oh, she's easy to love, easy to deal with, or she's easygoing person. But that's exactly what we should not be doing. And the silence that kind of vanishes, kind of erases you, because that's not kindness, that's the damage. So what the exact damage is, it kinds of like it really shapes us into a complete wrong person that we don't want to be. And it kind of compensates our whole personality, mainly our confidence, our low self-esteem, and our peace. So how exactly we can break this trap? And I think rather than me explaining this part, it would be great if I could hear from your point of view, like how you would break it if you were in my position. So is there anyone, like one or two person, who would like to contribute the ways they would like to break this trap?
Yes, Angel.
I believe if you want to break that trap, you have to start say no when you don't. When you think people will judge you or abandon you, you should say no if you don't agree with them. Because the more you don't agree with things and say yes, the more you get into that trap and would never able to come back unless you start to do what you think is right for yourself.
That's exactly right. Because in the start, you might feel uncomfortable for saying no, but then soon you realize that's not hurting your confidence, that's not hurting your self esteem. You're getting into right people's friend group. So slowly, you'll be comfortable with saying no. And that's the first step to break this trap. Is there anyone else with a different idea?
Lakshmi, do you want to try?
Yes. Um, so I feel it is not about yes or no. It is about our choice. Individual person should know like what they want to have and what they don't want to have. And it is not about you are a selfish or you don't think about others or you are disrespect others. It is about your choice and what you really need. And say it in a good manner that I am not interested for that and I can't able to do that. So in certain manner you can say that it is not harm in the right manner.
That's a great valid point. Thank you, Lakshmi. It's not only about yes or no, it's about our own choice and preference. So if you don't prefer to be around the people who are doing wrong things, then just say no and just end it there, because you're sure that the right people will find you at the right time. And here in the chat, Nishita said that it's not about being dishonest, it's choosing safety over self respect at times. And I think that's one of the part we said. Like most of the time, we kind of compromise it because we are scared of being ignored or neglected. And if you feel like you're in that kind of environment, so next, I know that this may sound easy than doing it, but then try yourself to get it out, like get yourself out of that situation, because the more you stay, the more it's going to harm for you. And just believe yourself that if it is not the right place for you, definitely your fate will take you to the right place, as long as you work hard and honestly. And I think if those were the like two steps, then definitely you will be able to achieve anything you want. We can stay with our choice, with perspective, face what way. Exactly, Fatima and Shamna. That's a really great point. So with that, we come to our end of this PPT. It says that teach her that her voice is not a burden. It is her boundary, her strength, and her right. And if you see the people on our PPT, these people were from totally a different generation where they had to struggle 10 times what we are doing right now. If those people hadn't fought at that time, we wouldn't have these powerful figures. So what we can do is like slowly we can also fight this, so that maybe in 10, 15 years on someone's PPT, you will be there as an inspiration for someone else. So I know that many of you are like, including myself, are going some like hard times or like situations like this, and I really believe that you will be able to fight through it. Don't worry if you're gonna like scared of the fact that you're gonna lose your friends. If you lose them, that means they are not the right friends, and soon you'll get the good friends who support you and who believe that what you think is a right thing. And today or tomorrow you'll be able to find them, maybe even like 5 years, 10 years, but definitely you'll find them, and definitely you'll achieve your goals. And with that, we come to an end. Thank you so much, everyone. Uh, I hope you enjoy this whole session, and I hope that you also kind of came to a middle ground where you think that you are not at the wrong, you are at the right point.
Thank you so much, everyone. I hope everyone understood everything. And for the boys, don't just think that this topic was based for girls. All the points that Anya have told are relevant equally for you guys, okay? So don't think that it's just that girls have to face this and girls face this. And we understand that it's not just girls. So don't think that, okay? All the boys
Exactly.
also.
I think boys are the ones who face peer pressure the most compared to girls. Like friends tend to push them more when they want to look cool. So, but then again, if you feel that's a wrong thing, just say no. If they're the right friends, they will agree with you. If they're the bad friends, let them go. You'll get good friends.
Yes, amazing. Great. So, guys, we have one more bit remaining. We'll try to do as much as possible today, but I'd like to get started with that. So, we'll call another changemaker, Mrinal, with us over here, who is here today. Hi, Mrinal. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Hi, Mrinal. Okay, great. So we have Mrinal with us for the second bit. So he will be taking over now. We'll try to cover as much as possible today. If you guys have any questions, put it up on the chat box so that we can take it at the end altogether. Okay, great. Ananya, you can stop sharing your screen, and Mrinal, you can start
Yes, just a
sharing your
sec.
screen. Yes. Okay, Mrinal, over to you. Okay, is it?
I'm trying to share the screen. One
Yeah,
second.
no problem. Amazing.
Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay, great. So for my topic, I'll be talking about sensors. So I'm sure all of you guys have heard about sensors before. So we'll be just taking like a bit of information about it. So these are the some types of sensors here. There's the metal sensors used in airports and everywhere. There's a color sensor, light sensor, and so on and so forth. So what exactly is a sensor? A sensor is like a machine sense and is basically used by machines to feel different things. Like basically how human beings see stuff from our eyes, the machines can see things using sensors. They can hear things using sensors, and everything works basically using sensors. All of the input of the information they come through sensors in machines. So here's a example, comparison. So like humans beings, they have sensory receptors, but in machines, it's like sensors. And so we take the information, we take the input from our eyes, we look at stuff, we hear things, we touch stuff. And from there, our brain processes those things and we perform a certain action. Similarly, machines take information through sensors, and there's some other systems, some other programs, or maybe artificial intelligence that can be used to further process the information gained through the sensors. So basically, these sensors work by detecting something like heat or light, for example, or temperature or humidity or whatever, and it just sends an electrical signal inside the receptor, inside the input. So input, and this goes to the sensor, and the sensor will send an electrical impulse through which certain action is performed. Right? That's basically the basic idea of sensors working. So how do the sensors actually like detect things? They have like certain special materials that can like change when they come in contact with certain things. So like for example, gas sensors, right? Sensors that detect gases. They detect changes in resistance caused by gas molecules. And humidity sensors, for example, they detect change in the moisture in the environment. So basically different sensors have different materials or different methods in detecting different kinds of change in like uh, situations. So it's just a picture, for example, light or heat goes to the sensor and it just generates a signal. And that signal performs certain actions or tasks.
Okay, great.
So
Let's take a pause. Any questions so far, guys? Is everyone understanding? If you have any questions, you can raise your hands, type it on the chat box, anything that works for you. Everything is understood. Okay. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Okay, take care. Continue.
okay,
Thank you.
so far, yeah. So there are a lot of different types of sensors, but here are like a few sensors that I'm sure everyone has heard of. There's a sensor of light. So as soon as it turns dark outside, the light, like light lamps, right? The street lamps, they automatically turn on. Temperature sensors, how is the fridge controlled? How is the temperature inside your fridge? It has a controlled temperature, right? It doesn't go up or down. It's controlled into like perfect temperature. So that also uses temperature sensors. Then there is motion sensors when you're walking inside a store and the doors automatically open. How is that happening? It's again used with the help of sensors only. And again, sound sensors, you just input information through sound and yeah, there's some action performed. So yeah, just some examples. So again, more common everyday sensors you have seen when you use your phone, your fingerprint. Again, that's another sensor. You unlock your face, like you use Face ID. That's another sensor. Right? Even in your homes, some of you might have a smoke alarm detector. It basically detects if there's smoke or like some kind of change in gas molecules, and that can help you in case there's, for example, smoke in your home. It alarms you so that you can get out of safety like quickly. So it's very useful in evacuation processes and safety also. In hospitals also, it's used like to detect your heartbeat and stuff. And yeah. So I'll be talking about here's some more examples of sensors where we use sensors. This security camera also use sensors. Everything is sensors here. So I'll be taking mainly talking about environmental sensors. That's the topic. So like specifically these are sensors that like obviously take care of the environment. They check like if how clean the air is. What that means is what kind of like does the air have a lot of pollution? Does it have a lot of smoke in the air, a lot of dust in the air? It checks that. And it's also very important in checking if the water is safe to drink, like it's mentioned here. And temperature also it can detect and can detect noise also. So all of these are very useful in just taking care in general of the environment. We can evacuate earlier in case there's an emergency. We can figure out if there's any problems beforehand and just take precautions against that. And these kind of like environmental sensors, they basically help us, they basically protect us from different issues, right? That's what it is. So here are some examples. Again, satellites also use the sensors to function properly. So here are some basic types of environmental sensors. So there's the air quality sensors. It usually detects pollutants like there's CO2, there's carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, all these pollutants. It detects that and it can like figure out if there's carbon monoxide poisoning, for example. In the home, like carbon monoxide is actually colorless. So at home, it can basically detect if there's a lot of carbon monoxide presence in your home, and it can like beep, for example, the alarm, and you can like get out safely because you can't figure out, and then you suddenly become unconscious because of carbon monoxide. It's a very real issue. Again, water sensor, again, like I mentioned beforehand, it makes sure that the water is clean to drink, and yeah, like that. Then there's the weather stations. It can weather forecasting, for example. How does weather forecasting work? Again, they use sensors to detect not only the temperature, but things such as moisture in the air, which can be used to like predict like if rainfall will happen or not, and the wind temperature to detect like typhoons or just anything in general. weather stations can use sensors again. And noise sensors also again checks how loud the places are. So there are other types of sensors also. There's like I already mentioned, there's also radiation sensors, for example. The radiation obviously like just checks radiation in different places. It's again very useful in nuclear engineering. So all of these sensors are just extremely useful. So already mentioned, so these sensors, oh yeah, there's also a sensors that detects moisture in the soil. And these uh, sensors are used in farms to help grow better crops. At home also, thermostats like control the entire temp, like your entire home. It controls the settings so that it's at one particular temperature, and that's what thermostats are. And thermostats basically again use sensors to detect the temperature and just do the proper air conditioning or whatever in accordance to that. In schools also, everywhere, basically sensors, you cannot like function nowadays without sensors. It's just used everywhere. So these are just some examples, for example, yeah. And again, these are like, again, why are environmental sensors important? They're again extremely important. They take care of the environment. They make sure that pollution doesn't happen. They keep people healthy. Health is again a very important thing. All of these, basically, they're just extremely important. So here are some like real life examples of environmental sensors. So there's an app called aqicn.org, and here's the picture of that app. And basically there's like a lot of data, and all of these data are collected simply through sensors, right? Pollution, health advice, there's just advice. But as you can see, there's some NO2 content, SO2 content, carbon monoxide content. All of this are detected, like this is real-time detection, and the environmental sensors, they detect this all these pollutants and just figures out the air quality index using this environmental sensors. So this is a very famous app for this kind of things.
Okay.
And yeah,
Sorry. Mrinal, can we take a pause and look at the
mhm.
questions on the chat box once?
Oh yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Where is radiation sensors used, please? Okay, so radiation sensors, they are used. So many times what happens, there's like in nuclear power plants, there's often like metals like used such as uranium and plutonium. And what happens, like there's some situations where people, like back in the day, people used to use like there was this situation where people used to paint watches, for example, with some material that had radiation. And because of that, what happened is that like a lot of young girls, they lost their lives because they used to lick the toothbrush, and because of that they used to lick the toothbrush with paint, and that paint had radioactive material. And because of that, many of the factory workers, the people who used to like paint the watches, they lost their lives. So what radiation sensors, you can figure out if the paint has radiation, for example. You can safely use a lot of things when you can recognize if it has radiation or not, because otherwise radioactive materials are very, very dangerous. It can cause cancer, it can cause long-term health effects. That's why radiation sensors are very important, and that's where it's used. Does GPS have sensors? Yeah, so GPS is like it basically, again, yeah, GPS also has sensors, right? It has to detect where you are, it has to detect your location, and that's performed through satellites. And how to do satellites you do like figure out your location? Again, they have to use sensors to figure out where you are and stuff like that. What is the meaning of wind, please? Wind means hawa, right? Like
Yes.
wind. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know how to
yeah.
explain it. Yeah.
Yes, yes, correct. Zainab, is your question something else? If yes, then please put it up on the chat box. In the meantime, we'll take Kushagra's question. He has raised hand.
Please.
Hello there. So my question is like, usually when we go to malls, we see many stores have sensor doors, and they when we come close to that door, the doors automatically opens. So like which uh, they censor which body part, like we are here, uh, our inner temperature or something like our body part comes under that. Like I want to know about it, please.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Like you're asking which sensor is used to detect the if you're coming inside the store or not?
No, no. Which body part the sensor takes to open the door for us, please? That's my
It
question.
doesn't take a body part. It basically works using motion detectors. And if it sees like basically what happens, the cameras, right? The sensors, they are trained on a lot of data, a lot of human being, like what human being coming inside. They're trained on a lot of data, how human beings walk, for example. And they use that data to sense, like if a person is walking through, it just kind of creates a like an outline of a person walking inside, like a box, for example. Imagine a moving box, right? They see a person and the sensor just creates a box around the person. And if it sees the box moving inside, it basically sees, okay, the person, like there's something coming, trying to come inside. It uses motion detectors to figure out if a person is coming inside. I don't understand your question, I think. Does that answer your question?
Yes, please. I just wanted to know the which body part it does. So I got that. It was the motion of the body. I have
Yeah, the
also one
entire
more
the entire
question.
body is used. There's no specific body. The whole body is used as the motion detector tries to detect the.
Yes. Does that also mean, Pranal, to add on to Kushagra's thing? So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be a human body. It can be any object as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that mean, Kushagra, does that clarify your doubt further?
Yes, please. I have also one more question. Like, can you please explain water sensor? Like, are they fitting some sensors in the water, or they actually scan the water?
So I don't have a lot of information about how exactly the water sensors work, but like I think water, like it just I'm pretty sure that they have sensors inside, like for example, certain water bodies, water sources, to detect if there's like chlorine content or like if there are impurities and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it's just inside the water.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving ahead.
Okay. So I'll move on with my. So yeah, nowadays a lot of smartwatches also check your heart and heartbeat, right? It can detect your pulse and stuff. So all of these stuff also, like real life, there's a lot of things that use sensors. So now there's a lot of future in the sensors. It can basically nowadays it's already like very optimized. The sensors, they get they can basically warn us about earthquakes beforehand. They can warn us about, like, let's say forest fire beforehand. They warn us about all of the dangers extremely quickly. And nowadays it's already extremely optimized, but in the future it can be even more optimized. It can be like even safer. People will be warned of dangers even better. And maybe in the future, I don't know, this is just something that might happen. For example, we can have like tiny little robots, right? And it can go inside our body and figure out like some problems inside our body using sensors. And it can just tell all of the details to the doctor, and you can get cured. So maybe in the future, I don't know if it happen or not, but that's just something that can that the future of sensors can look like, for example. All right, so now I'll be asking some questions. If you guys know the answer, then you can, just try it out. So what do you think? What is the answer to this question? Which of the following sensors is used to measure air pollution? Yeah, anyone can. You guys can answer in the chat if you want to, or you can just speak it. Yeah, it's correct. It's the air quality sensor. That's right. Okay, next. So, which environmental sensor will most likely be used in a greenhouse? A greenhouse is basically a place where there are a lot of plants and everything is kept. So like it just like a glass dome. Yeah, okay. You guys know the answer already. Yeah, it's C. Correct. The answer is C. Okay, so now comes true and false. What do you think the first answer? Can environmental sensors be used to help prevent forest fires? Yeah, yeah, you guys are all correct. It's true. And what do you guys think about second question? Soil sensors are used to measure rainfall. Is it true or false? False, false. I'm seeing some truths. Yeah, false. Yeah, because it's actually false. Soil sensors detect the like the pH or the hydrogen concentration in the soil, and it detects the moisture content in the soil. You can't detect rainfall with soil sensors, so that's also false. Okay, great. So that's basically my presentation. Sensors are just extremely useful tools. You can make smarter choices. You can keep yourself safe. You can protect nature. You can build a better future. There's just so many things you can do with sensors. And nowadays, like the entire world, we cannot function without sensors. It's just extremely useful thing. All right, that's my presentation.
Thank you so much, Ronald. We can take in some questions if anyone has any questions, any doubts, any word that they did not understand. They can ask in right now and then we can get it clarified. Yes, Dildar.
I have a question about how noise sensor can be used. Like I don't have idea about noise sensor. So can you give me an example, please?
Noise sensors, how can they be used? I guess, for example, like I'll just tell a basic example. In some places, there's a lot of noise pollution, right? So nowadays, what's happening is like there are certain studies and certain case studies to figure out how to decrease noise pollution. So noise sensors are used to figure out how much like noise, like how much volume there is in a particular area. And so they can just put, like, for example, different case studies, like different conditions, like if this situation happens, how much sound is released? If this situation happens, how much sound is released? And what's the most optimal method to reduce the noise pollution, for example. So that's one place we can use the noise pollution. Sorry, not noise pollution, no noise sensors. Yeah. Even like audio, like I think you're asking about noise sensors, but even if I just talk about audio sensors in general, like audio sensors are used like basically everywhere, right? Uh, you like listen to, I don't know how to explain. Like, for example, let's just say, how to explain this? Maybe it's like some apps, for example, they can use audio sensors to detect how much. Yeah, in stadiums also you can use, you can see noise sensors, and in, for example, some apps, there's some applications that can detect how much decibels there is. So that also uses noise sensors. So, yeah.
Yes, please. Like Alexa and Google
Yeah,
Assistant.
yeah. I was thinking about that only. Alexa and Google also, they also use the noise sensors. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other question? We have one question on chat box from Lakshmi. She's asking what techniques or equipments need to have to build any sensors.
This is like, it's like very complicated actually. It's like a lot of engineering is required. I don't have enough knowledge for that. Sorry to mention that. But yeah, it's like there's like chips and stuff. There's like I guess I had some pictures right at the start. Yeah, for example, these. So there's like different types of sensors. As you can see, the temperature sensor, there's like these kind of pockets, and they have a lot of machinery inside, a lot of chips, a lot of materials inside. I don't have the exact knowledge, right, how these work, but yeah, I guess it requires a lot of code, like not coding language, but a lot of mechanical engineering, a lot of electrical engineering knowledge. So yeah, you need to like know how to build. But like once you, if you have this unit actually, then it's kind of a lot simpler to use sensors, right? It's easy to use sensors, but like building a sensor is extremely difficult. I don't know how to, like it requires a lot of, it's like, for example, how to create an iPhone chip, right? It's like very difficult to explain exactly how it's created. But you can use the iPhone chip for, processing data and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, anyone? If no further questions, then please give a thumbs up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I hope everyone understood both the concepts. Khushi, did you understand everything? Yes? Okay. Thank you, Khushi. ठीक है. What about Abdul? Abdul, did you understand everything?
Yes, Divya, I understand everything.
Okay. Any doubts, any questions? If any word also, if you did not understand, then please let us know, any one of you, okay? ठीक है, I think we are clear. Amazing. Yeah, I can see all the thumbs up. Okay, great. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for the session today. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you, everyone. Thank you, everyone listening.
If you have any further doubts later, please feel free to add it in the next class, and we'll be able to clarify. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for the class.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All
Thank
good.
you.
All good, Rukmani. Thank you so much. I'm well now.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, Mrinal.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.